yesterday's news.
Hello, welcome to Old News, the programme which looks at the news of today through the papers and the stories of yesterday. Remarkably similar, it seems, and it would be remiss of us, would it not to have at least a glance at the TT. Surprisingly, a lot of the same issues discussed today have been discussed many times in the past. The Isle of Man Examiner, Friday, June the 11th, 1937. The TT races are finished. There won't be more than 60 entries next year, the article says. This was an oft-heard contention 12 months ago. Now we have almost arrived at the eve of what promises to be the most successful series of races staged in many years. The representation of 12 nations among the entries gives the events more than the usual amount of international flavour, and there will be some keen struggles next week as the various riders endeavour to put their respective countries in front. No great inconvenience, it was claimed, was caused to ordinary traffic by the roads being closed in the evening for practice, and we imagine that those people who live near the course, particularly the many who have no love for motor racing cycles at any time, would much prefer to hear the roar of the machines after tea than in the early hours of the day. In the Isle of Man Times of September the 11th, 1937, we see the article, TT races at Scarborough. Rumours are circulating in the island that after the 1938 races, the TT will be taken from the Isle of Man and run on a course which it is said is being created near Scarborough. The proposal is that Scarborough will construct a course on private land at a cost estimated at £100,000 and run on it the TT races and the TT car race. Hands up if you remember the TT car racing. The rumour is to the effect that the ACU had entered into an agreement with the Scarborough authorities to run the races there for 10 years. However, despite the fact that this was before social media, it seems it was all nonsense. The article goes on, we are reliably informed by one closely connected with the ACU that this is untrue. No agreement has been signed. There is not the slightest possibility of the races being run at Scarborough in 1938 or 1939, because there would be no course there. The Island and the TT races was an article in the Isle of Man Times of July the 5th, 1947, just after the war, of course. Looking back on the recent TT races, the first and the last possibly on pool petrol, presumably petrol which was rationed following the war, we can say at once that they were very successful from every point of view. The number of visiting motorists and motorcyclists was easily a record, and we now know that the arrivals of visitors in the weekend preceding the TT and the numbers for the next weekend differed by about 10,000. But no one with any common sense has ever questioned the value of the TT races to the Isle of Man, or the value of the island to the races and the trade. However, it goes on, if you want to follow the race, you can only do so at the grandstand, because there you find the scoring board and the lap leaders board, and you have the advantage of the public address system installed by Mr. Colburn, the radio expert. The object of all this, of course, is to fill the grandstand, and it does very effectively. But it is not everyone who wants to see the race from the grandstand, because there you will miss all the excitement of the race, except the replenishment of the machines. The bulk of people gather at such places as Bray Hill, Quarterbridge, Braddon Bridge, Belig Bridge, Sulby Glen, Hairpin Bend, Bungalow, etc. Why cannot a loudspeaker system, such as at the grandstand, with all its information, be made available by relay to the people at these places? This is a mechanical possibility, and the cost is not excessive. Mr. Colburn, I think, was listening. He of Colburn's fame, still there, of course, on Victoria Street. We could have live coverage of the TT races, said the paper on Friday, May the 15th, 1959, the Isle of Man Times, I believe. Live television transmission of such world-famous events as the TT races, the Manx Grand Prix and the International Bicycle TT races, with the immense publicity boost entailed, may come if a local company's proposal is taken up. Mr. T.H. Colburn, who has installed the excellent around-the-course broadcasting system for the TT races and other events, I told you who was listening, has put forward a scheme which would revolutionise the transmission of the information by the use of closed-circuit television. Mr. Colburn proposes the operation of a television camera in the timekeeper's box. It must be obvious to everyone concerned with the organisation of the TT races, particularly spectators, trade officials, press, BBC, etc., that the present system of scoreboards at the grandstand no longer adequately perform the purposes for which they were originally designed, i.e. to give up-to-the-minute information on the progress of the race, said Mr Colburn. If we look at the Peel City Guardian of the 28th of May, that's the Saturday, 1910, it has a wonderful piece on the motorcycle TT race. Thursday saw the running off of the motorcycle tourist trophy race, practising for which had been going on spiritedly for a week previous. This was the fourth race for the International Autocycle Tourist Trophy. Remarkable interest has been taken in this year's event, and the entrants reached the total of 84. The course was the same as last September's, not the mountain course, of course. The triangular roadway from St John's to Michael by Cronkervoddy and back to Peel by Glen Cam and through Peel to the starting point. This is about 15 miles, and the competitors had to complete 10 circuits, or 158 miles, 220 yards. There were, of course, then as now, sadly, accidents. And they took great interest in these, most of them not quite as serious, although fatalities tragically did actually occur. Accidents whilst practising was a separate column in the article. On Saturday, a collision occurred between Quinton Smith, a Douglas rider, and Adamson at the top of Craig Willie Sill, as it was called then. Both riders on Triumph machines proceeded round the course together, and on ascending the hill, Adamson was some distance ahead. An accident to Adamson's driving belt caused him to suddenly slow down, with the result that Smith, who was following at a rapid pace, was unable to steer clear of his companion. The violent impact unseated both riders, who were hurled into the roadway with considerable force. Adamson escaping with a shaking and had the skin taken off the side of his head and cheek, but Smith had the misfortune to have his collarbone broken and dislocated the end of his shoulder, and was conveyed to his home at the Sheffield Hotel in Douglas. Not to hospital, you note. The most exciting incident of the day, it was reported, occurred on round number 21. It came in the starting point, completing his fourth circuit, Mr. W.H. Bashel, when his machine became ablaze. It seems that his tank had burst and the content took fire. Frantic efforts were made to extinguish the blazing petrol, I bet they were frantic, and tyres extending right across the racing track, and succeeding machines dashed through the fire. They were brave lads. The flames were finally extinguished, but not before the motorcycle was reduced to a sorry-looking piece of framework. Mr. Bashel got off with no worse than a burnt hand. The worst incident of the day was to that of C.E. Bennett, also on Craig Willie Sill, just down the road from Cronkervoddy. On the first round, he injured his knee rather severely and was brought to his lodgings, Mrs. Cacken's Station Place, Peel, we were informed, in the hospital ambulance after the race was over. He is still kept to bed and under doctor's orders. Lurgy Doo, also a favourite spot for riders to come to grief, we are told. D.R. Clark caught fire here and put him out of the running. Several others dropped out of the race at this point. In Peveril Road, Peel, Mr. T. Creben's cat was struck by a cycle and thrown some distance. It's not reported what happened to the poor cat. And Lang, in the primary stages of the race, collided with a collie dog on the road between Peel and Michael, and so hurt his foot that he had to be removed to the hospital. Again, no mention of the poor collie dog. And finally, the future of the TT races. Always a great debate, isn't it? The Isle of Man Times, Friday, June the 24th, 1955. It was reported the Mayor of Douglas, Councillor J.P. Quayle, told 200 cyclists, the day is coming when the cycle races held on the island may well outshine the TT. I think we're still waiting, it's fair to say. On Saturday, June the 13th, 1936, in an article called The Future of the TT Races, the Isle of Man has become used to talk of finding another course for the TT races. It's been quite a regular topic every year for some time past. This year, there is a feeling that something will be done about it, and that 1936 may see the last of the TT course so far as the TT races are concerned. In the island, we should regard such a step as little short of calamity from our own point of view. The world-famous 37 3/4 miles of roads is known to hundreds of thousands, by name to millions, and the TT course is famous. The new course, well, it is actually mentioned As to where it would actually go, a new course has been proposed, one that is the same as the car race. A start at the TT Grandstand, a left turn to St Ninians, on down Broadway to the Promenade, left along the Prom, past Derby Castle, along King Edward Road and Groudle Road to the halfway house, and returning by the main Laxey Douglas Road through Onchan Village to the start. It's roughly 8 miles long, and to give the same distance now reached in 7 laps of the TT course, 33 laps would have to be covered. It would be fast, no doubt, and will be lapped somewhere in the region of 90 miles per hour, but it lacks the distinction of anything like the mountain climb on the TT course. I think they're right there. And it never happened. What will happen in the future of the TT course? To the future of the TT? Who knows? But I think we can safely say the debate will rage on, as it's all old news. Cheerio.
You're gonna be yesterday's news.